talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
I love this song. This is very romantic. I should be doing a dance show.
Yeah, you should.
I count the ways I let you down.
All right, I'm coming back. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in to another edition of What's Up with Kobylt and Friends. Thanks for that music. I loved it.
Of course.
It got me going. I really am going to turn this into a dance show. Because
Just get up on the tabletop and go to it.
one day I'm just going to do it. But anyway, thank you for being here. John Kobylt with KFI's very popular The John and Ken Show. We have a really fun show, again, always. But today, I always love to talk about current events. I'm so obsessed with the current presidential race. We were all surprised last night watching Cruz out. I knew that he said that he was going to pop out if he thought that he wouldn't be a viable candidate any longer, but I didn't think he was going to do that quickly. Everyone's jumping to the television to see what he's going to say. I think we have a clip of that, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, we have a clip of Trump claiming his victory and pounding his chest. Let's go to that real quickly. But he's quiet for once?
Just so you understand, Ted Cruz, I don't know if he likes me or if he doesn't like me, but he is one hell of a competitor. He is a tough, smart guy.
They're best friends now.
And,
Look at that.
and he has got an amazing future. He's got an amazing future.
All right, we
so
can come
I
out
want
of
to
it now.
congratulate Ted. And I know how tough it is. It's tough.
Okay, there he was, Donald Trump, at a very rare, kind moment toward Ted Cruz.
It's all show business.
Well, of course, it's all show business. He's been playing that quite well, I will say.
Yeah,
So,
they're all playing roles, and everybody takes it way too seriously and way too
Who
literally.
needs acting lessons? All you have to do is really get into politics, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very quick lesson, right? A quick study, I
Yeah.
have to say. So Cruz out today. What they say, Kasich, unless he already announced. Kasich's about
Sometime
next.
this afternoon, he's out.
I mean, what was he thinking anyway? I mean, it doesn't even matter if he announces or he doesn't. He's out of it anyhow. So
They
you
were
know, the
both
cameras
they were
even gonna
both
show up?
staying in case there was chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And every day you wake up, Trump could create some kind of chaos. So they were banking on the idea that one day something would happen that would go so far that people would run away from Trump screaming, and they'd be standing there to save the day.
So then why did Cruz do this so quickly? Did it have anything to do with that article that his dad was somehow affiliated with Fidel Castro, and there were pictures of him right before
with
the
Lee
Kennedy
Harvey
assi-
Oswald.
Yeah, Oswald. I thought it was Castro.
Well, they were
the three
handing
of them
it-
were having cigars together. What was it?
Well, the picture was in the National Enquirer a few weeks ago, and it was somebody who plausibly looks like Rafael Cruz when Cruz was young. And he's standing next to Lee Harvey Oswald. They're passing out leaflets promoting Castro. It turns out that Rafael Cruz used to be an insurgent in the Castro group and was trying to help, when he was 17 years old, overthrow Batista, the dictator, back in the 1950s. So he was there, and he wanted to join the main Castro guerrillas up in the mountains, but they wouldn't let him because he was too young. And then he found out Castro was a communist and renounced him. But somewhere in there, a few months before Kennedy was killed, he's standing there with Lee Harvey Oswald.
He is, or it looks like him in the picture you're
Well,
saying?
it looks a lot like him. They found a picture of him from the mid-50s. That picture was 63. It's plausible. And he was a pro-Castro guy.
Right. So is it possible that there's some validity to this? And Cruz then said, I've had it. Now they're dragging my dad into this thing? That's it. I'm out.
It's the perfect Trump story. Every time Trump goes over the edge, you always find out there's something to it. It's not provable either way, but it's not completely crazy. And he excels at promoting stories like that.
Right. So what's next? Look, everyone was predicting all sorts of chaos to be happening at the Republican convention, and it looks like it's down to one guy.
Well, he gets to produce the show.
He gets to produce the show.
So you're going to see a lot of beautiful women on stage.
Oh, there's no doubt. Right? I mean, he's surrounded, in terms of his sons, you can't see them anywhere behind him. You've got the wife. You've got the daughter, and I think you've got the
The
daughter-in-law.
daughter-in-law, she's trying hard to compete. That's a
She's
tough family to marry into.
I mean, it's kind of, you look up there and, good for them. They're
Yeah.
all lovely looking ladies, but it's quite a sight, right? I mean, and the sons who've been helping them,
Yeah.
they're just all cast off to the side
And
somewhere.
that's powerful because it sends a counter message to the way he's described. It's like, look, he's got a beautiful family. And they all
They don't
they're all
move. I
they're,
mean,
they're
they're
all
just-
well they can't they all they all like him, at least publicly. They say they like him. They're all working for him. They're all stable. They're not out acting like Kardashians. So it's a counter message that whatever you think of him, somehow he had a role in raising really good people, at least on the surface. Who knows what goes on behind closed doors?
I've never
but-
really read anything much about
No,
them,
they're n-
ever. Even when we were covering them back in Atlantic City, you never heard anything about his kids except that they were good in school and hardworking people. So he must have done something right, or at least his wife.
Yeah.
Somebody did something.
Whatever. Maybe she did it and he didn't do anything to unravel it, which might be the best you can say.
Okay, so you've got Trump, you've got the good-looking family behind him now. You've got nobody else to contest him. You've got him.
No,
showing-
he's it. He's the nominee. So
Okay,
it's
do we-
going to be a Hillary Trump.
Can we put up that picture of Hillary and Trump at
This is a great
Trump's
picture.
wedding?
If you haven't seen this, this
There we
is
go.
2005.
Oh my goodness! Look at how chummy they are up
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Hillary and Trump and her husband, President was he? No, he wasn't president anymore.
No, he was out of the presidency. But yeah, it's Hillary and Bill and Melania and Donald. And if you notice at the picture, it's one of the rare times where Clinton's in the picture, but your eyes don't go to him. Trump has more charisma than Clinton does. And if you notice, Hillary.
Well, it is his wedding day.
But Hillary is looking up at Trump, laughing,
Oh.
almost adoringly. You see, and they have their
Yeah.
arms
We
around
can
each
even
other.
we can even crop that picture next time and show her looking up adoringly.
He
to Trump.
does. She's got
That's
the
very
Nancy
unique.
Reagan look at him, and that's the thing is he paid them to come. Remember?
Well, not much longer. I mean, from now on, you're not going to see too much of that going on. It's
Oh,
going to
no.
be a fight, right? I mean, this is.
Oh, it's
really
going to be vicious because no one's ever taken her on. Everybody, all the other Republican candidates have always been afraid of taking on and describing the Clintons exactly as they are and talking about all their scandals and their personal problems in detail. Really, the Republicans have always acted like a bunch of wimps, which is why Trump is increasingly going to win over all the Republicans who can't stand him now, because what most of them have in common is they can't stand Hillary, and they're finally seeing a guy taking it to the Clintons. Whether he wins or loses, he's going to beat him up pretty badly.
Our publicist was just saying this morning, just now, that MSNBC has Hillary up by 15 points.
Yeah,
Should the race be today?
there's a poll that came out last week that had her up by only 3. There was one that had
Well, you
him
know
up
me,
by
I don't,
2.
I don't necessarily
It's-
believe in polls ever. I didn't a year ago when they said, Trump's not going to go anywhere.
I told you.
said, yes, he will.
Dukakis was ahead of Bush by 17 points in August of that year. Reagan was 30 points behind Carter early in 1980. Right now, doesn't mean anything. It's after the convention, starting in September. And even then, things can swing wildly in a matter of a week or two. An outside event can happen. What sealed the deal
That's
for
true.
Obama is when the economy crashed. But
Right.
McCain and Obama were neck and neck. The economy crashed. McCain looked like an idiot. Obama looked very cool and relaxed, and he ended up winning easily.
What about Bernie? He's sticking it out to the end now, isn't he? Or is he going to give us any surprises and just, disappear?
Well, he's got the math problem that Cruz had. I mean, he just he doesn't have the delegates.
Yeah,
so
but last night he
can-
was saying we're going to take this all the way to the end.
Well,
I
you
mean,
can. I mean, he wakes up in the morning, he's got to do something so he can go and schedule a campaign stop, but he doesn't have the numbers. So there's no way to get around that. And he doesn't have the super delegates. Those are the free agent political party hacks, and they're all in Hillary's pocket. They're all in the tank for her. There's nothing he can do about that.
So what happens here in California when we have the primary in June? Right?
Well,
Everyone was
it's-
expecting a big fight,
I know.
and
All the
now
air's out of that balloon.
all the air's out of
Yeah,
that balloon.
It's just going to be a formality. I tell you, though, the way I think people ought to look at this race is not the conventional way. You can't just look at Democrats and Republicans, red states, blue states.
Right.
There's going to be two groups: people fed up with government in Washington, and people who think everything's okay. Hillary's going to get the crowd. Everything's okay. Let's have another Obama term. Trump is going to have the crowd where enough of this. They want to bulldoze Republicans, Democrats. There's going to be Bernie Sanders people in that crowd. It's going to be mixed up. It's not
that's
going to
why-
fall along the normal lines, and the states are not going to fall along the normal lines.
You're right. And that's why I've said all along, if she wants to win, she needs to put him on her ticket. Because she brings a lot of people, he brings a lot of people in to vote who, don't really want government as usual. And if he's not on her ticket, I don't think that she can beat him.
I just heard one of the cable news reports, and I think
And
it was
nobody
yesterday.
ever says that. I'm the only one who says that. They should come to me as a strategist, and I will tell them, put him on your ticket, and you can beat him. But without him, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Everyone knows everyone should always listen to you. I mean, that's been well documented. But I heard cable news report. They were going through a Sanders crowd because he gets thousands of people. So, all right, Sanders doesn't win. Who are you going to vote for? And the responses, according to the reporter, and it's just a small sample size. It's like, I'm not voting for anybody. I'm voting for Trump. I'll never vote for Hillary. There is a lot of animus in the Sanders crowd against Hillary, and he's not a minor candidate. He's a major candidate. He's been very competitive. So that's part of the big mix-up. And again, people are going to need to calm down for a few months and then see.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're riveted in our household. There's arguments at dinner time. I mean, we just, because everyone's all over the place in our family. So I like to keep track of this. Thanks so much for coming in.
All right.
And as you said, just something sort of crazy can happen. We just have to wait
Oh, if
and
there's
see.
let's say a terrorist attack, like
God
San
forbid,
Bernardino.
don't say that.
But if there is, that completely shakes up the race. If suddenly we fall into a recession and we're right on the edge, and we get bad news that the economy contracted by 2%, that could shake everything up.
Right, or something else. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Or she gets indicted.
You're showing your bias,
I-
I think.
I'm-
And I don't necessarily, I don't agree
I'm
with
not
you.
making up the investigation. It really is
I
there.
got it, but I
All
don't
right.
agree with you in this case. You know that. So anyway, thank you for coming
Okay.
in. And right now we're going to just hang on a minute. Don't get up and leave. I know you have to go to your show, but just give me a minute. So we're going to go to a clip to our next guest who's going to be co-hosting with me today. She's lovely. Patrika Darbo. Darbo? Patrika. Okay,
knew you
please.
were gonna
This
do
is
that.
a weekly thing.
You
It's
should
a-
feel honored.
You should feel honored.
Your streak is intact.
My streak is intact. I don't get my kids' names right, and you can ask them. It's true. I rarely call them by the right name. I don't quite know why. Patrika, thank you for
It's okay,
my
because that
apologies.
happens quite a bit. It's all
That
right.
I can
I'm
imagine.
Patrika, my husband's Rolf. We get Ralph and Patricia all the time.
And just take it. You know what I mean?
That-
Deborah, for whatever reason, is very close to Barbara, and a lot of people, I don't know why, a lot of people call me Barbara, and I just roll with it.
Okay. Honey,
So,
listen, you were going to be Debbie.
I
My
grew
husband
up,
wanted to know is she a West Coast Debbie instead of Deborah? And I went, I don't know.
I grew up in East Coast Debbie with an IE, and then I became more sophisticated and used my birth name of Deborah. So it's Deborah. But anyway, so
And my birth name is Patrika on my birth certificate.
Patrika. Okay, thank you. So we're actually going to have you co-hosting with me, and then we're going to have a psychiatrist on the phone, psychologist Elizabeth Lombardo. So we're going to talk to her. So take a quick break. We're going to go to clip of you, and then we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Are you an actor?
You're not booking.
I think I just haven't found the right material.
You kind of have that desperate vibe, you know?
Maybe acting is just not your thing.
We're really looking for something a lot more authentic than that.
I should die.
Congratulations on choosing Flatline Inc. Getting actors work even if it kills them.
I don't think it worked. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, my bad.
We're gonna be busy. Just gotta figure out how to handle the smell, you know?
Are you following me?
I'm a freaking ghost.
Very pushy.
Thanks.
Asking favors and very pushy.
Stay away!
Oh, God, my kidney.
Oh, that's the spooky bullshit right there.
This, and this.
I'm not gonna.
Hey, sounds good, huh?
What a Nikki mess.
Don't worry. It's only going to hurt a little, but forever.
Has anyone done it before?
Yes, Justin Bieber's a client.
I mean, successfully?
Then no.
That's terrific. I love that. Patrika Darbo.
Yes.
Thank you for being in studio. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about that clip?
I'm like going, I'm not sure where to go. Patrika Darbo, I'm an actress. I'm hoping to produce later on. You just saw a clip from Acting Dead. It is one of the new shows that qualified for a Primetime Emmy.
That is fantastic.
So we're making a big push for that to be Best Show. There are 2 of us under Best Actress and 1 Best Actor at this point that are submitted, and we're hoping for all those Emmy people out there to give us love. It's very important.
Wonderful show. And also one of the people in that show, Carolyn Hennessy.
Carolyn Hennessy.
I
You
love
saw
her.
a clip of Laura. There was Lori Allen, big voiceover person. I mean, there were so many great people in the show.
So many great people in that show.
We're very lucky. We're very lucky.
But where can we see acting? Where can we see it now?
At www.actingdead.com. You can go there and you can see it. And I think that you found something on Vimeo, so you can see clips of it there to give us your love, or just to say where are we going to see more of it, because I think that's the important thing.
What's the show about?
It's about an actor who nobody's working but zombies and vampires and werewolves, and I'm his agent going, "You're not working." So he goes to a place and becomes a zombie, a real zombie, and he starts working all the time.
So that's how you get work in this town.
That's how you get work in this town. It's crazy. But I also, I'm going back to Days of Our Lives for a little brief stint. I just did a lot of stuff there.
I read that, and you're reprising your role as Nancy.
Nancy Wesley, the full-figured bitch goddess of daytime.
And
Thank you, Michael Logan.
Loved her.
You know what? They loved her but hated her. And I think it's also, too, that I was very, very lucky to be on the show in the fact that I got this typical soap opera husband, gorgeous. And when I looked at it, I went, do they know who I am? Are they really sure that they want me on the show? It was kind of like a moment of anxiety, because I thought I was coming to serve beer and peanuts, and here I was getting to wear glamorous.
The hot husband.
Oh, honey, getting the hot husband. Then I had a child. I mean, it's just everything was wonderful there. And I'm getting to come back and reprise the same role. Got an Emmy nomination from the show, and so it was terrific. I really was very lucky.
When did you start your acting career? Because I sort of love hearing about your entire journey in this business.
You know, it's really funny because my mother would say it was when I came out of the womb, but I did a lot of things in grammar school, high school, community theater. My husband and I met in community theater, and we got married on stage in a production called To Tie the Knot, starring me as the bride, starring him as the groom. A lovely judge named Andrew Weiss in Beverly Hills married us on stage, and from there on it went there. But I had a full-time career as a credit manager. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. And then I had a gentleman end up telling me that I was a woman no more than a goat, and to never contradict him again. And that was when I started acting full time after I said bye. So it was like, so it's, you know, it's, I think it's Henry Ford that said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And at that point, I went, this is really what I want to do.
You have to believe in here, and almost every day. That's a struggle for so many of us. In fact, right now, we have on the phone, if you'll talk with me, with me to her, Elizabeth Lombardo. Elizabeth, are you there?
I am here.
Wonderful.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Wonderful to have you joining us. A little bit about Elizabeth. She has her PhD in psychology. She is author of the best-selling book, Better Than Perfect, 7 strategies to crush your inner critic and create a life that you love. You've appeared on the Today Show, CNN. You've been written up in the Wall Street Journal. Shaquille O'Neal calls her his head coach for happiness. I love this. This is incredible. Thank you for being on the show with us today. This is wonderful.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have a picture of her? You are adorable. You're also the mother of 2, and you live up in Chicago. Can I say that?
Yeah, where it is still cold despite being May.
It's Chicago. What do you expect?
I'm headed for Grand Rapids this weekend, so I stop in Chicago. I guess I better get out a few more warmer clothes than I was anticipating.
You may want to, yes.
Oh, my God. So tell me what motivated you to write this book. And I know that you speak a lot about happiness and how happiness is a skill. So let's start with, why did you write this?
So I wrote Better Than Perfect because it is my mission to help people before they need the proverbial shrink couch. I was working as a clinician in private practice, and I realized that regardless of why people came to see me, whether it was from emotional eating or from a relationship, a marriage that was about to go into divorce, or just being so overwhelmed with stress, that regardless of why they came to see me, if I could help them before, we could prevent all that bad stuff from happening. so I travel the world talking about happiness and how we can be happier. And I came to realize that one of our biggest obstacles to being happier, to living a fulfilling life, is actually perfectionism. And perfectionism is a lot more than just having a neat junk drawer. Perfectionism is an all or nothing mentality. Something's either perfect or it's a failure. I'm either perfect or I'm a failure. And that gets in our way of our health, our relationships, and our happiness.
But let me ask you something, and please chime in at any time,
Absolutely.
Patrika, if you want to. Very often, isn't that ingrained when you're kind of a little kid, to be perfect, especially as women? Maybe not even perfect, but to be, to put on your better face. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Get the A's. Do your best. Be the best on the football team, whatever it is. But what happens is with those young minds is we're very black and white. So I'm good if I get an A, then I must be bad if I don't get an A. And we start to internalize that, and then we start comparing ourselves to maybe unrealistic expectations. I should be good at everything, right? This concept of women should have everything, that is so perfectionistic, even the thought of having everything.
But I think don't you think if you strive to have everything, but you don't make it the most important or priority, but I don't think you should ever stop yourself from going after everything you want. I think also, too, our society says every single day that you're not perfect. Unless you use this kind of soap or this kind of cream or you go get this facelift. I did Days of Our Lives, and I'm a size 2 also. I just have a 0 after my 2 instead of in front of the 2. So it's like, but I'm perfect. I'm not going to say that I'm not as sexy or attractive as the woman over here that's the O2 versus my 2O, because then I would put myself in a bad place, and that's BS. I'm not doing that. And I think it's also important that when you talk about A's and B's, you also need to talk about the fact that we put so much money in kids' sports, but nobody puts them in the arts anymore. And not every kid is a jock. And so it's inappropriate to say, oh, my kid got a trophy for baseball. Well, what about the kid that can paint beautifully or write beautifully or act or sing beautifully? We need to encourage those too.
Completely. Which is better than perfect, is not to strive for a C+, right? It is to strive for the A. It's if and when you don't achieve it 100% of the time. Instead of internalizing yourself as I'm a failure, why bother? You say, hey, what can I learn? Where can I go with this now? So it's just like what you were saying in terms of, what's important to us. If we can really pull out the values and the strengths of our children and, frankly, of ourselves, then we're going to stop comparing ourselves. We're going to stop feeling less than. We're going to embrace who we are, and then we can fulfill our purpose here on this earth, whatever that may be.
That's a really tough lesson, though, because I just went through the college application with my son, and there was so much hysteria around where kids were going to be going. And we really believe this because he's a bright kid, but you go where you're supposed to go. Yeah. And a lot of people are trying to go where they're not supposed to go, and that's what's making them hysterical. So maybe sometimes try not to fit in where you don't belong.
But who sets the goal where you're not supposed to go? Do you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it's not even at home.
I'm
getting some feedback, by the way, in my ear, but just so you know. But maybe sometimes I think it's not even from home. I think it's what's going on in your environment.
But it's also you sit down with 5 or 6 kids, your peers that you work with, and I'm going here and I'm going here. Well, I really can't afford to go there. Do you know what I'm saying? So sometimes we get limits that are out of our control. But I think when we put those limits on ourselves ahead of time, it's bad.
We also have something that I call conditional self-worth, which means I believe in myself if. I believe in myself if I go to a great college. I believe in myself if other people look up to me. I believe in myself if I'm an O2 or versus a 2O or whatever. And yet what we really want to do is cultivate in ourselves and our children and in our society what I call unconditional self-worth, which means you believe in yourself because of your values, because of your strengths, because of your purpose and passion here, as opposed to comparing yourself to others. And that's a paradigm shift for our entire society.
But how do you get that if on the inside you don't feel it, and then you are always looking out to get a little validation? I see that a lot. I see that on myself sometimes.
But
sure.
I just wanted to. We were just talking with John, your husband, and we were talking about the Trump thing, everything going on. Don't you think when we're watching that, we're watching a reality show now? I mean, everything. I expected him to say, okay, Cruz is a great guy, you're fired. I mean, I think that that's what we're living in, such a society that now everything is a reality show, that we're seeing, you do a sex tape and you're a major star and you can buy anything and people pay you to come here.
That's a point.
It's
I mean, just even with, that's a point. With all we're being faced with in the media and social media, how do you take that in and still feel that you're validating you feel
good about yourself? I mean, when you see the TMZs and the things like that just exploit stuff that make you feel bad. Here's someone, and I hate to pick on anybody, but if you pick on the Kardashians at this point, and I apologize, I don't know you, I don't want to be, but here's something that started with a sex tape and now you're worth $67 million. People pay you to go here and there. Not every kid can compete with that.
But here's the thing. In my private practice, I work with ultra high net worth individuals. People have more money than you can count. They are just as miserable as people who don't have the money. So it's not even just, if only I had that money and that status, then I'd be happy. That's not bringing us happiness either.
Then we need to publicize that. I mean, we need to let everybody know that we all kind of are in the same basket together. I think sometimes when we like going, it happens that people say, well, they're better than I am, or I'm not as good as they are, and we don't always realize we're in the same basket.
We are. That's exactly it. Grass is always greener. If only I had more money. If only I looked a different way. If only my partner was more supportive. But it is completely on the inside, which is why when we talked about happiness being a skill, it's a skill that you learn within yourself. It actually is almost independent on the outside world, because whatever happens on the outside world, if you have those skills, you can apply it. It's like playing the piano. Playing the piano by yourself is easier than if you're in front of 6,000 people, but if you keep practicing, you can play in front of 6,000 people too. So what we need to do as a society is cultivate in our children and frankly in ourselves, how can we be truly happy? Not happy, giddy, laughing all the time like you're stoned, but happy, like fulfilled, living a purpose and passionate life.
Well, you've got 7 strategies. So what are they to really believe in your inner self? Because a lot of times when I'm having a tough day, and I will tend to look on the outside and think, okay, how am I being perceived to that person or in this situation? And then I have to remind myself to mentally, go there and remind myself that what matters is what's going on in here. So for me, it's a check, a real check. So.
And here's the other thing. You know what that other person's thinking about?
Yeah.
That you're judging them.
Good one.
Truly.
You're right.
Truly. That is what is happening. We get so absorbed in ourselves, and when our stress level gets higher, for whatever reason, we tend to be more self-absorbed. People are looking at me. It's about me. That person cut me off in traffic because he's saying that I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. It really has nothing to do with you. And so if we can kind of take a step back and realize that everyone, if you stick a microphone in most people's heads, there's an inner critic. It's louder at sometimes and not as loud as others, but I promise you, whether you're CEO or you're a homeless individual or anything in between, there is an inner critic there. So the real opportunity is to say, how can I use my inner critic instead of as a drill sergeant who's telling me I'm horrible to try to motivate me? How can we use it as a cheerleader to say, okay, I'm telling myself I'm no good. What I really want is to feel good about myself. So what can I do to actually feel good about myself that's going to work? Bullying, putting other people down, that doesn't actually make you feel better.
No. So what do you do? What are some of the strategies that you talk about in your book that really will help somebody?
Well, they all will really help someone.
Of course.
One, create, don't compare. Create the life that you want. When we get on social media, and man, especially with our kiddos, but we certainly see with adults, getting on social media, getting on media, watching TV and comparing yourself. They're better than me. That's not true.
You mean like the ladies at the Met Gala who looked like so amazing? I was just watching that on.
Excuse me, did you see the dress that lit up? Oh my God.
I mean, I was watching that. In fact, it was kind of funny, and I had my girlfriends on the phone. I'm like, come on. And, and I thought, none of us could ever wear this sort of thing. And then we started laughing about it. We said, okay.
And you know what? The designers are fabulous. They can always make for us. We can still wear it. Doesn't matter. They'll add a little sleeve for my flags that wave people in. It's fine. I'll wear a sleeve. You just, what? Again, it's what she just said. We need to feel better about ourselves and not make that judgment. You would look just as fabulous in the Claire Danes dress that was made for your body.
Heck, I would.
Absolutely. So you're rocking it. And that's what we need to think about.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, the other thing is, as a society, we tend to be in this win-lose mentality. She looks good, so I don't, as opposed to just, those are really works of art. you don't go into a museum and look at paintings and think, oh, I can't paint like that, or maybe you do, but a lot of people don't. They can just admire the artwork. So instead of comparing, can we just get to a place of gratitude and appreciation of what's around us and everyone's differences?
But I think, too, what happens at the same time, as beautiful as they were and we appreciated his art, then somewhere in the back of our minds we know the only way those people got there was by an invite. Why don't I have an invite? Why can't I go? What's the problem there?
Actually, it's funny you said that. I did wonder about that.
That's what,
so,
you
in
fall
fact, for more the foreign, the White House press dinner,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wait a minute, what happened to my invitation this year? And and we've been invited before, and I said, wait a minute, what's going, maybe next year, is what I was thinking. But okay, so getting back to your strategies, which I think really are helpful, particularly that the person that you're looking at is also feeling a little insecure. So let it go. Right? I mean, everyone,
I remember Oprah said that regardless of who she interviewed, as soon as the cameras go off, every single one of them said the same thing. How did I do?
Mm-hmm.
But don't
it's
you
true.
think
Everyone's questioning themselves.
It's kind of the golden rule. I think if we all thought about that, treat everybody the way you want to be treated.
But she makes such a good point. You know, when you walk out of here, or when I walk out of here, and we're all feeling the same way. Did that look okay? Was that a good question? You and me. So there you go.
Yeah,
and
right.
Elizabeth too.
I'm sitting here going, where's the camera? I don't know how I look. Am my hair okay? There in my apps. I like this. Oh, look how cute her hair is over there. Oh my God. There I am. Okay, fine. So it's that whole thing goes on.
It's true.
Yeah. So another strategy is to evaluate your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a rule book. I say women have a manifesto and men have a pamphlet, but we all have a rule book of how things should be, or people should be, or you should be. And you know it's a rule when you use the dreaded word should. Shoulding all over yourself. And that's a rule that when it is broken, you tend to be disappointed, upset. If it's in your partner, my husband should pick up the dry cleaning, and if he doesn't, then I'm angry. Or if you should on yourself, I should look better. Evaluate your
stop
expectations.
Stop shooting. I
No
like
shooting.
that
Stop shooting on yourself.
You've got good ones, Elizabeth. I'm telling you. Stop shooting.
Now you need
I'm
a
going to say that
t-shirt.
to myself.
She needs a t-shirt.
You know what? This
Don't
is what you're
shoot on
doing.
yourself.
Elizabeth, this is what you're doing. Stop shooting. This is it. I mean, that's your T-shirt. That you're
I'd get a T-shirt that said "Stop shooting on yourself."
I
Yeah, there
love
you go.
this. Okay, give us another one.
Well, I was just going to say the other way to look at it is using its cousins must and ought. So we also call that masturbation. Do not engage in masturbation.
Oh, tell me again what masturbation is, please.
When you use the word must, like I must work out, it's putting that judgment on yourself or other people that you don't need.
Yeah, but what do you mean? Like if you say it to yourself, I must work out, or
yeah, so there's a difference between I should work out, I must work out, to I would like to work out. It takes you from, there are two main motivators in life. There's fear and there's passion. And fear is judgment, it's criticism. I should do that, I must do that. What's wrong with me that I'm not doing that? As opposed to love and passion, which is I want to work out because I want to have more energy, and I want to be a good example for my children, and I want to have a healthy body. So which motivator are you choosing?
Okay, so masturbation. So we've got the
no shouldering on yourself,
right? And masturbation.
And masturbation.
You definitely need a T-shirt with this. I'm saying, okay, another one. Give us another one. I love the masturbation. How do you forget that one? Right? Okay.
Exactly. I was giving a talk once at a church, and the pastor's wife saw my slides and said masturbation. She called me up. She said, "I know I'm not supposed to ask, but can you just let me know what that one is?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm not going to."
Could you imagine? That's hysterical. They're all up in arms over masturbation.
I know.
Meanwhile,
Like,
we keep
okay.
saying it every other word. Masturbation. Okay, so keep going, please.
Another one is fail forward. As a society, we are so scared to death of failing. I don't want to fail, so I'm not even going to put myself out there. Oh, I've tried to work out before, it didn't work, so I'm not going to exercise. Or I've tried to lose weight and I failed, and so I'm not even going to try. Or I'm scared I'm not going to get that job promotion, so why bother? The average woman waits until she meets 100% of criteria for a job before she applies for it. Men are more in the 50%, 60% range. But as women, we tend to say, oh, I'm not going to do it because I'm afraid I'm not going to do it. So instead of being fearful of failure, fail forward. And that means it's not failure, it's data. It's simply information. When you get an outcome you don't want, use it to learn. So for example, if you did not get an invitation that you wanted to, instead of going to judgment of yourself or judgment of the world, you could say, I wonder why. And if it's important to you, then you say, what could I do to get a different outcome next time?
It's true. I mean, this is sensible enough. And if you're able to take it in, it's good advice that you need to follow. It's not just
It
like.
goes back to what I said, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So
You're right.
you have to do that. And I think, I mean, I know a lot of young actors who always go, oh, I need to get new pictures, but I have to wait till my hair grows. Or I have to wait till I lose 5 pounds. I have to wait till I get the blemish off my face. And you
But
go
they're
like this.
right in a way, because
But
they have
you
to
know
put
what?
their best face forward.
You got to put your best face forward. But at this point, time is going by.
Yeah.
Time is going by.
Yeah.
And then you're going to sit back and go, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And that doesn't work either.
Yeah, and so the whole concept of better than perfect is don't wait for perfection. It's better than perfect. So if you don't have time to, I don't know, if you're trying to relax more and you want to take yoga, you don't have time for a 90-minute class. Well, do you have 5 minutes to do some deep breathing? It's better than perfect, right? So if your hair isn't perfect yet, but if you don't get these pictures, you're not going to be able to progress, then maybe taking your pictures now is simply better than perfect. And if we can embrace this concept of better than perfect in ourselves and in our friends, that's how we can really change this world.
I will do this. I know. I will wait and say, no, it's not right where I want it to be.
Yep.
No,
What's the point?
It's not, because then time has gone by, and by the time you're ready to do that, it's a new style or a new this, and that doesn't work for you either. So do it now.
Just do it now.
You only have one, this isn't a dress rehearsal, as they say all the time. You get one time to go around and have fun. Do it. So
does this get harder, though, particularly for women, as women get older, would you say? Because, they feel like they're being judged more?
It grows up a little bit as women actually get older, and I don't mean old, but older, late 50s, 60s, and farther on. I think women become more wise, and they realize, like, it's okay that I'm not perfect. And they start embracing more who they are and what they want in life, as opposed to trying to be perfect. So I actually see perfectionism going down as we get older.
I think we also realize at this point, because it's not a dress rehearsal, it's like, you know what? I'm not biting my tongue anymore. I'm going to tell you just what I think and why I think that. And I'm not going to wait for my hair to grow out to get where I want it to go. I like the short hair. I love it. I'm fabulous the way I am. And so screw you if you don't like it. But perfectionism, we're not going to, there is no one perfect. There's nobody that's perfect. Nobody. So,
and perfectionism is boring. I mean, if everyone was, the perfect weight and hair and manners, it's boring. I remember once I made a video. It was actually for Oprah Winfrey's network. She was calling for a show, and I hired this crew, and I had this pink St. John suit on, and my makeup was perfect, and I was speaking so eloquently, and blah, blah, blah. And my girlfriend, whose husband has a TV show, said, I hate your reel, because it's too perfect. It was so boring. I had no fun in it. I had no silliness in it. I had no humanness in it. And so, or humanity, or whatever the adjective may be. So really bringing in who you are and your individual quirks and silliness, that's what makes you fun. That's what makes you attractive.
I am always about that, because I am so interested in people's inner. And when people are putting on, it's so dull and so boring to me. I do some media coaching, and I always tell people that. I sort of analyze them first, and then you go with exactly who they are. And that's when you cut through to people.
do you remember years ago, the Twilight Zone? I might be dating myself. There was a Twilight Zone where the young girl was turning 16. It was time for her to pick her new body, because you went to and you picked out the perfect body you wanted and the face you wanted. And there were like 4 types for the women, 4 types for the women, 4 types for the men. So her father looked like her uncle, like the doctor, like the next door neighbor. Her mother looked like the bookkeeper, looked like her teacher. There was only 4 examples to pick from, but that were perfect. And this young girl was going, I don't want to.
Such an interesting show.
So
that brought up
so much. And then the one where the young girl was in bandages going, if it doesn't work this time, what am I going to do? And you never saw anybody's face until the end. And she looked like we do right now. And everybody around her was like these masks, grotesque mask faces. And it's like how we relate to when we don't see the beauty in ourselves sometimes.
I think we have to grow into doing that, but it is difficult. I mean, the social media, I personally think, makes it tough. I mean, very close friends that I have will post almost every day about somewhere fabulous that they've been. First, I actually find it a little off-putting, because it's like, okay already. But secondly, you can't help but wonder, geez, that's pretty extraordinary. even like I said, even for me, sometimes I look at that, and
But
I question myself.
I have no children, but I'll tell you, in the space of time we've been sitting here, I'm listening to Elizabeth talking about her children. She has young children, and you were sitting down with
boys,
you were sitting there talking with your boys about going to college and stuff like that. So it's a different perspective sometimes when you don't have children, and when you do have children. I have a fur baby, as we talked about yesterday, and so it's interesting for me sometimes seeing with children. My sister, I would say to her sometimes, going, "God, you sound just like Mother. Stop that." And we decided my husband didn't think he was father material. I didn't think I was mother material, because I think sometimes in stressful situations you revert to what you know best, and my mother would have flunked the test if she'd had to take one. So she did the best she could. She did everything she thought was right. So, and I'm here, and I think I'm a pretty damn good person, but I've learned from some of the things that I thought my sister didn't learn sometimes and reverted to those. So, but it's interesting to see that Elizabeth has 2 younger children, how she's dealing with it and creating that, and how her children will benefit from that. And the mere fact that you sat down with your child to do the college and do those it's interesting to see how that.
My gosh, I am by far a perfect parent. Are you kidding me?
No, I didn't say you were perfect.
Yeah.
Now, I've only known you like a half an hour now, but I know you're not perfect.
You're better than perfect.
There you go.
There she is. She is really, really, she came in here, and you should see her long blonde hair. She looks fabulous, and her husband was here who came to help her out, and he had to scurry away because we had a shooting on the street, and we're all doing great. We're here. and we're there's like 5 people in this room, and we're like individuals, or there was 6, but we're all different people, and I think that's what makes the world go around.
Elizabeth, so give us a couple of more before we sign off with you, that, just people listening can really just say, you know what, I'm going to try that today. It might be a little hard, but I'm going to try that, because happiness, as you said, is a skill, and we got to release our perfectionist ways. So anything else that you can...
so we are so good at focusing on what's wrong. Right, what's wrong with our society, what other people are doing wrong on Facebook. We walk by the mirror, and what do we look at? What we don't like, right? Oh, my stomach, whatever it is. So there's a real opportunity to focus on what is going right. Stress levels are, going up and up and up in our society. Research shows that when we experience gratitude, truly experience the notion of appreciation and gratitude, it decreases the activity of stress in your brain. So there's a biological shift that happens when you start to focus on what's going well, what you appreciate in your life. And this is particularly good in areas where you have a lot of stress. So, for example, if I'm coaching a couple, and they'll come in and they are A+ students on what their partner does wrong, I say, well, what are they doing right? And to actually force yourself to take off the glasses of he's doing all this wrong, or she's doing all this wrong, and put on the filter of, okay, something good must be going on. The more you can pull that out, the more you're going to appreciate not only what's going on, but you're not going to be judging yourself so much, because judgment and criticism of ourselves and others increases with stress.
Do you believe that people really should try and just find a couple of minutes every day to meditate or to do something? Because a lot of people, they're not going to church or synagogue or whatever. So spirituality is also, in terms of religion, a lot of people aren't doing that any longer, and maybe they're not as spiritual. I'm not really a church-going gal, really, even though I was raised to be. But sometimes I think there's maybe less spirituality going on.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And actually the 7th strategy of the book is called Transcend. And it's really that notion of, instead of worrying about the nitty-gritty of what's going on, take some time away. Spirituality could mean something religious, but it could be, as you said, meditation, quiet thought, being mindful in the moment. I think if everyone could take, 5 minutes out of your day, and here's the thing, you can do it before you go into the office, or before you get into bed, or right when you wake up, or, when you're taking a shower. You don't have to take extra time. This is what we're talking about, being better than perfect. Even if you just take 5 minutes to reflect on what's going well, to focus on one specific value that's important to you that you want to apply that day, to just sit and breathe and try to focus on your breathing or a mantra, instead of letting your mind race or be distracted by social media and TV and that kind of thing. If you could take 5 minutes out of your day to make that kind of change, you would start to see some really powerful transformations in your life.
Thank you very much. I think what you've got to say is sensible, but it's simple enough that we can practice it every day and just take a moment. And I have to tell you, today when I look at myself in the mirror, instead of looking and going, I'm going to say, now that looks good. Like I'm going to find one little part that I really am going to focus on and go, all right, girl, you're owning it. So
I'll give you 4 or 5.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay. I'll take them and back at you.
Thank you.
So,
and I'll just say one more thing. It's not rocket science. Like you said, these concepts make sense, but it is rocket fuel. And if you use these concepts, you can go from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. So we don't want to minimize how easy these little shifts are to make a really big impact.
Now, if people want, I know you do a lot of coaching and speaking. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
They can go to ElizabethLombardo.com.
ElizabethLombardo.com. And again, your book, Better Than Perfect, 7 Strategies to Crush Your Inner Critic and Create a Life That You Love. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Nice meeting you, Elizabeth.
You know, I didn't bring it up because we didn't have all the time in the world, but it also has a lot to do with the way you're raised. I was raised by pretty strict Italian parents. And if I even looked at myself and said, they'd say, knock it off. You know, vanity will get you nowhere. And they'd say, no, go to work or something like that. They would immediately make sure that you didn't do that. Or if I said, wow, I really like what I wrote, they'd say, well, look what your friend, my parents are pretty tough. And in those days, that's kind of how they knew to parent. So I've tried really hard not to do that with my own kids.
I think so. I think, and it's interesting because like I said, I don't think my mother would have passed the test if she'd had to take, but I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, her mother. So it's kind of like you go, okay. So
yeah, but
perpetuation
as you
happens.
Said, you do the best you can, and that's all they knew. But sometimes even the voice in my head or my sister's head or half the relatives I know, you're not supposed to sort of give yourself a pat on the back and say, oh, I did this so well, because it's just really against the grain of how we were taught. Yeah. So learning happiness as a skill or, to not be such a perfectionist is a learned behavior for me. It really is.
I think it's all. I mean, I was listening to Elizabeth, and I thought a lot of things that she had to say. But part of me was sitting here going, "How tough is it on her?" Because so many people are going, "What a Pollyanna, really?" That kind of stuff. So I kind of think she really has to go at it threefold, tenfold to get her point across in what's going on in her book and stuff. And everything she said sounded very positive, but it's like there are going to be critics that are going, please, who's got the time? Really? Do you really feel that good about yourself all the time? Do you,
No.
Don't you have a bad day sometimes where you get up and you go, I'm not putting on makeup.
There's no doubt that she does. And then, I know for me, when I'm like that, I just have to let the time go by. I've decided that's what works for me. Just let it pass. Because I think to myself, this will pass. Just go do something. Go for a walk. And it's going to go by.
My husband will tell you sometimes I'll come home going, oh, God, I nailed that. Really, that was so good in that audition. And then you never hear another word. Then you come home and go, God, did I suck? That was the worst thing I've ever done. Oh, phone. Hello. I booked it? Really? So that goes back to her self-critic, I think she was talking about with us.
I think the profession you're in is one of the toughest. I'm not sure I could really do it. And I've gone on a couple of auditions in my life, and they weren't so easy. You think you're going to get it, and it's because, it's a very personal thing if you take it that way. But so you said how long have you been doing this? How long have you been acting?
At least 40 years. At least 40 years. I think it's such a competitive business, first of all, and that if any young actors out there, I can tell you right this moment, when you go in, you do the best you can. When you walk out, you forget it. Forget it, because we can all get in the car and do it better.
Tell me one role that you had that you were so excited when you got that call, and then tell me one you really wanted that you didn't, if you can.
The one I can tell you that I did was I got to play Roseanne for the NBC movie of the week, Roseanne and Tom Behind the Scenes. So it was good to be the queen.
Incredible.
I had already done the Roseanne show and worked on the show and played Dan's dream lover. That was fabulous. And then I got to play her. And she complimented, we were in an elevator. She was on the way to her doctor. I was on the way to mine. She said, Patrika, I loved what you did, but you cried too much. She was the best. So it was a terrific role. I can't really. I try to let. I can't tell you what I lost because I try to let that
You
go.
really let it go.
You have to let it go. Otherwise, you kill yourself at this point. There's you create so much unhappiness in the fact that
like maybe there was something you let go, and then Bo Derek decided to get it. It's
come
like,
on.
what do you know?
Like this. So, I will tell you. One time, I went for an audition where they wanted a sexy Madonna bimbo type, and I was like, "Do they know who I am?" And when I got there, every one of the women were at least 6'4", and they were all built like
Glamazons.
Okay, hun, unbelievable. And I got off the elevator, all 5'3" of me, going, "Oh my God, I'm in the wrong place." But I had nothing to lose at this point. I figured, what the hell, I'm here. I went for it. I got the part.
What was it?
It was Keanu Reeves' first film, working with Lori Loughlin. And it was a phone call, and I made it probably the most dirty phone call you've ever heard in your life, and that's probably why I got it.
And you got it.
But, you just, and don't let somebody else live your dreams. That's, if you want it, go get it. And like Elizabeth said, stop with the perfectionism. Stop with being whatever somebody else wants you to be. Be who you are. Have fun and go out there and enjoy it.
You've been in so much, though. You've been on, a couple of recurring roles on Seinfeld. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did Seinfeld a couple times, which was a lot of fun.
Step by Step.
Yeah, Step by Step. I played Aunt Penny
Revenge.
for the first year.
Oh, loved Revenge. What did you do on Revenge?
No, I didn't do Revenge. When did I do? I did Revenge. I don't think I did Revenge.
I swear I read that somewhere.
I don't think I did Revenge.
If it is, we got to
wait a
cross that
second.
out.
I did Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and somebody asked me how was it working with Kevin Spacey, and I went, I've never worked with Kevin Spacey. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, didn't you do this?
That.
And I went, yes, I did. No, I didn't do a Revenge that I can remember.
All right, we'll move on from that. But you just finished.
But remember, I'm old and I've done a lot, honey. It could be.
But the Revenge isn't that, so I'm sure it's my mistake. So you've done Ladies of the Lake. You just finished that.
We just finished doing that. Michael Caruso and Kyle Lauder, who, Kyle did Days of Our Lives with me.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Caruso just did Winterthorne, got nominated for Best Show. The Bay won, but Michael was nominated. But he was
incredible. The Bay,
yeah. So that's been going on there, and I'm doing Acting Dead, which is just qualified for the Primetime Emmy. So again, give us your love. I've been very fortunate. I've worked very hard to get what I'm doing. I mean, so like Elizabeth said, you've got to go for it. Get out there and do it. So here I am.
What would you say has been, other than playing Roseanne, Days of Our Lives, I'm going to imagine is really
Days of Our Lives. Yes,
I
get to go back. I'm going to go back in a week or so and get to reprise my role. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'm very grateful. That was a fun experience. Again, I got to be a diva, which usually I'm the beat up housewife, where I'm the crazy neighbor. So this was funny, and I got to be all of the above.
They're going to give you another gorgeous husband.
Oh well, no, I have the same husband.
Same guy. Okay,
yeah,
so
same guy.
They're reprising him too. Okay.
I don't know if he's coming back, to be honest, but at this point, we'd always come back together. We have such a good time together. And Kevin's in New York. Kevin Spiritus was my husband on the show, and still is, as far as I know. But he's in New York now because he does some producing back there. He's a big Broadway person, and then Nadia Bjorlin, who plays our daughter Chloe. She's off having her own baby right this moment, and then she'll be coming back. So it's been a wonderful little ride there. So.
It's so exciting. And what do you do in your off time?
On my
off, you've got you're very passionate about kids, even though you don't have any of your own, and about the furry animals.
The fur things. I try to do anything I can for the animal rescues. I think they're terrific. There's a number of them that I work with. I also think that animals and children don't have a voice, and so don't mess with them, because then I'll mess with you. And so that's kind of my hobby there. And then watching a lot of television to see what I should be doing, where I should be going, what I should be doing. So those kind of things, yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today.
I appreciate it.
And for sharing all your adventures in acting, and for being my co-host. I mean, you were terrific.
Well, this is great. Anytime. Please don't hesitate.
Thank you so much.
This was a lot of fun and much success with this.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
all
welcome.
right. Well, everybody, thank you for another fun edition of Kobylt and Friends. We'll see you next week.